So, you start the game and are given the choice of 5 characters: a cop, a detective, a husband and wife pizza chef couple, and a pizza delivery boy. Now, obviously you choose Pepper, the pizza delivery boy, because he rides a skateboard, and riding a skateboard is awesome. And after hours of exploring the island, you find yourself revisiting the Brickster, a prisoner jailed on the island whose cell is open to the public with a sign that says, "No pizza near the gate." No pizza? Wait. No pizza? What is that? That doesn't make any sense. The whole setup is based around pizza. Wait, why does it say no pizza? Now, this sign delivers a very silly and bizarre instruction, so you, being the chaotic child that you are, decide to deliver a pizza to the prisoner anyway. Shortly after this delivery, the Brickster uses the heat from his baked confection to melt the bars of his prison cell and escape. He takes off in a helicopter to terrorize the island, and it's all your fault. What I've just described is the climax of LEGO's first video game, Lego Island. And today I would like to answer the question, is Lego Island a game to remember or a game to forget?
Stars and Stripes!
Hello, and welcome to another carrotscraps video. And by another, I mean the 34th. So Lego Island is a PC game released by Mindscape on September 26th, 1997. While I was doing research, certain websites have called the game an action-adventure title, but I would argue a point-and-click open-world adventure might be a more accurate genre. You explore Lego Island through a first-person perspective, participating in various activities, and using your mouse to interact with the environment. You can also build and customize various vehicles that you can eventually drive. And you can drive those vehicles in multiple competitions. You can drive a race car, a jet ski, or even pilot a helicopter. How old is Pepper again? What is he, like 10, 11? At most, he has to be 13, right? I feel like he shouldn't be driving a car. At the very least, he definitely shouldn't be piloting a helicopter. Whatever, I guess I'm just supposed to suspend my disbelief and believe that a child is able to pilot a helicopter. I just looked it up and Pepper is 12 years old, according to Lego Island 2. How informative. As the game boots up, you are welcomed to Lego Island by the Infomaniac, a maniac and helpful entity who can harness the powers of the dark arts to change his size and appear anywhere, to name just a few of his demonic and unsettling abilities.
You don't need to be afraid of the Infomaniac anymore. He's just a character from a children's video game.
Oh, what? Just because he's from a kid's game, I'm not supposed to be afraid of him?
I'm just trying to help you.
Why are you even here? I'm trying to record my YouTube. After making a save file, the Infomaniac shows you a map of the island and explains that you can click and drag a character from the top of the screen to a location to play as them and travel to that place. You heard me right. You, yes, you can wear the skin of a resident on Lego Island. Each character has a unique personality and occupation, and the world and the other people in it interact with you differently depending on who you are, with certain characters even unlocking specific stories, like how playing as Pepper is the only way to trigger the end of the game. So you can get a feel for the population of Lego Island's personality by talking to people on the street, or by playing as one of the 5 characters, but another way you can get to know some of the residents of Lego Island is by watching one of 5 short films that play whenever you click on one of the playable characters' icons. These little short films, I think, really get across the quirkiness and the style and personality of the game. Each one is like a pre-rendered cutscene and has its own style and has its own genre that it's trying to make fun of or, emulate, and it really helps you get a feel for each of these characters while making some funny jokes along the way.
I'm the pizza delivery dude, the dude with the food!
The name's Brick, Nick Brick. I carry a badge.
When Mama Briccolini arrived on Lego Island, she had only the clothes on her back and her piano.
Jeez, Mama Briccolini, you gotta learn how to pack lighter. Anyway, whether you're playing as one or multiple characters, there's a lot to discover on Lego Island. What's great about the discovery is that a lot of the content in the game is either out of the way or not explained how to access to the player, so when you find it, it always feels like you've discovered something that no one else knows existed. These kinds of hidden rewards in such small places really add to the game's depth and replayability. In fact, the game is so good at hiding content that to this day, no one has figured out what's behind this secret door hidden on the side of the island. If you enter this secret cave, strange, foreboding music will play that doesn't appear anywhere else. To the far left of the cave is an old chest with, with something disturbing in it. I didn't mean the cat, but I meant more of like, scary stuff inside. There we go, scary stuff, there's a ghost. But at the end of the cave is a door, and when you click on it, you get this message.
I needs me beauty sleeps. Go away. If I tell yez a secret, will ye go away? Aye, of course ye would. Try clicking on the shift button on your keyboard, and then moving your mouse around to steer. It won't hurt your finger as much. But when you want to click on something else, click on the shift again before you do, to take it out of the easy to drive mode.
So, the question on everyone's mind is, will anyone ever find out what's behind the tutorial pirate's door? Well, the truth is, there's nothing behind this door. From what fans understand, there was supposed to be something behind the door, but it was never coded into the full game. As it turns out, Mindscape had 5 other LEGO games planned, and what was behind this door was planned to tie in with one of them. Unfortunately, due to the cancellation of those games, nothing was ever put behind this door. Maybe one day we'll learn what's behind Captain Click's door. But until that day, he's only useful for useless tutorial facts. I mean, honestly, why would they put a tutorial on this side of the island that explains how to walk around and click on things? It feels like a sick joke. Obviously, I know how to do that stuff already. I've been playing the game enough to get to this side of the island. Come on, Captain Click, stop playing games with me and tell me where the polar bears came from. But you know what? While I definitely would like to know what's supposed to be behind the door, I like to think that its mystery adds to the allure of the game. Anyway, you can explore the island by walking from one side to the other, visiting various places of employment. You can do favors for people at locations like the pizzeria, the hospital, and even the police station. Oh wait, do favors for the hospital? That seems like an awful idea. I can't help but feeling that only trained professionals and people who are not 12 should be doing favors for hospitals. I don't know, that's just my crazy idea though. Arriving at certain locations will also trigger fun little cutscenes you can watch from afar.
I knocked my head off last week and I lost my memory for a while.
What happened?
I don't remember. I knocked my head off last week and lost my memory for a while.
Why are there so many jokes about decapitation on Lego Island? Anyway, you can even find silliness while walking down the street, when people walking by will begin to dance or jump into a comedy routine. There are so many weird and wacky encounters on Lego Island that I'd like to start a new series called Lego Island Lego People Interviews of the Lego People, featuring Lego Island people. People. The name's not important. What is important is that we're going to interview the people of Lego Island to get a real feel of what the culture is like. Like you, good sir, what do you have to say?
Hey, I'm over here, to my left, to your left, our left. Right, no, not go right, correct. It's not a soccer game, use your brain. Oh, I guess that's over here.
All right, that was a bad example. How about you? Miss, what do you have to say to the people curious about Lego Island?
Oh my, I think my carriage got loose. I suppose you haven't seen him. Well, he'll come back when he's hungry, I suppose.
There's got to be somebody better than that. What do you have to say to the people who are curious about Lego Island?
The Infomaniac taught me a new word. It's a really big word. Sesquipedalian. You know what it means? It means really big word. Cool, huh?
I mean, it's definitely cooler than everyone else we've interviewed so far, so. But you know what? Speaking of Pepper, isn't it interesting that when you're not playing as certain characters, you can actually meet them in the wild on Lego Island? Man, I wonder if Pepper even knows the havoc he's going to wreak on this island towards the end of the game. You do remember that from the beginning of the video, right? The pizza prison escape staged by a 12-year-old boy by accident? Yeah, that. As a quick reminder, you can actually free a criminal imprisoned on the peaceful Lego Island, which will set off a chain of events that causes absolute chaos for all who live there. All it took was a simple pizza delivery and disobedience. Either that or illiteracy. Yeah, so funny story, the in-canon reason why the sign in front of the Brickster's jail cell will change occasionally from no pizza to no pizzazz is apparently because Pepper can't read. Evidently, if you play as any other character, the sign will say no pizza, but if you play as Pepper, it'll say no pizzazz. It is funny to me though that they felt the need to go that out of the way to try and trick players, because I honestly probably would have made that mistake myself as a kid. Or even as an adult. I have dyslexia, so the differences between pizza and pizzazz are Not that many to me. And you know what? While we're on the subject of me as a child, let's dig a little bit deeper into the ending of this game. Funny story, the punishment for curiosity and the immediate repercussion of your actions as a player made a much younger version of myself very upset when this happened. I felt very real and instantaneous guilt about being the direct cause of this very scary criminal's escape. The music changes, and the whole demeanor of the game becomes very concerned and worried about the fate of the island once the Brickster is freed. Now, all of it is lighthearted and goofy, but this dramatic shift in tone really scared me as a kid. The guilt I felt was so real that I still feel it sometimes when I revisit this game.
But anyway, Peppa, take this pizza to the jail.
There's a solution here somewhere.
If I just calm down, I might be able to remember what it is! Hey, Peppa, what up? Pizza to the jail, dude. It's on the east side of the island, over the little bridge. You know where it is, but it doesn't know where you are.
Why don't you let me out? I won't tell anyone it was you. My bricks are sealed. I mean, by keeping me in jail, aren't you really trying to lock up the darker side of your own nature?
Yikes, can't imagine why I'd have any long-lasting guilt after playing this game. But, to my surprise, young me was able to pull myself together and save the residents of Lego Island by feeding the Brickster donuts from a helicopter or something.
Shoot pizzas at the Brickster, donuts at Nick or Laura, and our island is saved!
Yeah, that's what I meant, calm down. Anyway, getting back into the island itself, Lego Island is a distinguished open-world first-person game. I'm serious, stop laughing. It's an open-world game. A game that can compete with the likes of Far Cry or Grand Theft Auto 5 or any other open-world game. Stop laughing! Clicking on trees might change the way they look, clicking on houses will spin them around, and accidentally clicking on a building on the other side of the island in the distance will teleport you immediately into that location. It's very jarring when you do it by accident, which you almost always will. There is a lot on Lego Island to do and explore, and I'm sure at least some of it will make you smile. At this point, I'm sure it's obvious that I absolutely adore this game. I can't help but gush because it's just one of my favorite things ever. However, I think we're going to get a little bit more critical when we talk about gameplay, and specifically controls. The controls are one of the weakest parts of the game in my opinion. As much as I loved the first-person perspective as a kid, its implication doesn't work practically here. You do have a choice though when it comes to controlling your character. Not a great choice, but a choice nonetheless. You could choose between jaggedly moving the camera with the arrow keys, which will be sure to disorient you very quickly. On the other hand, you have the more conventional choice to use the mouse by holding the click and pointing in the direction you want to look. I know that type of control works for plenty of people and plenty of games at this time, but it really just doesn't work for me. I find myself going in the wrong direction or too far in my chosen direction far too often to recommend the mouse, so I always end up using the arrow keys instead. Then when it comes to vehicles, they have very similar issues when it comes to controls as well. The best vehicle to pilot by far is the race car, and it's helped by the really memorable race that you get to participate in. But when it comes to the jet ski, don't get me started on the jet ski. I mean, it's just not good. The jet ski race is one of the weirdest things I've ever controlled. Including so many vehicles really helps make the island feel like you have a lot of activities to do. But when it comes to controlling them, they really tend to let you down. You can also build and customize your vehicle in this game, which is really awesome for a Lego game, but also has its minor issues. First of all, the building system feels like it's made intentionally limited to make building a longer experience by having me cycle through 2 shelves at a time. In addition, dragging pieces to the desired location can be a little finicky. I mean, clicking and dragging is the most simple form of gameplay, and yet sometimes you just can't click or drag. So with all of that said, the best thing the game does in terms of gameplay is provide a world with reasonable depth to explore. But exploring the world can be a little difficult with the janky controls. And in addition to those difficult controls, sometimes the environments aren't easy to navigate either. So as much as I love the look and the layout of Lego Island, there is this weird detail that's always struck me as odd since I was a kid. When you're playing, you're only allowed to walk on paths. You can't go off certain paths, for example on grass, or off of certain parts of sand. If you watch the gameplay on the screen, you'll notice exactly what I'm talking about. There are very distinct paths that you're supposed to take, but those paths are the only way you can navigate. You can't walk on any other surface. Now, this isn't really a problem, honestly. I don't mind this at all. The problem comes when, on certain parts of the island, certain paths are very narrow to the point where it's very obnoxious to walk through. I think the reason why certain paths are so narrow was to justify why Pepper is the one who needs to rescue the island, because he's the only one who can ride a skateboard on such narrow paths, because, you know, he's like totally radical, you know? But these few very narrow paths are actually really difficult to walk down, even if I am a superstar skateboarder. But with all that being said, if I had to choose one piece of the gameplay that I think is the best and most polished, I would give that prize to the race car race. Driving in the race car is one of my favorite parts of the game. The race is so wacky and bizarre, and it's one of the few vehicles that I think control really well. Here, let me show you just a little bit of what I'm talking about.
Here to compete? Well, honey, let's just call this a practice run.
What? That? Why? It doesn't normally. It's not supposed to look like this. Wait, let me try something. I'm gonna build another one. All right. Let's try this. Let's do another one.
Enter the competition. Get in your car and, well, good luck.
Huh. Come on. So, let me explain. This actually brings up one of the other very big problems with this game. Putting aside some of the bigger issues with the game, which in my opinion are the controls, the biggest problem with the game is accessibility. You see, in 2020, it is extremely difficult to get this game working on a modern PC. Even if you have a physical copy like I do, I mean, I have like multiple physical copies. It doesn't matter how many physical copies you have though, because it's not going to work. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are already saying that whether or not a game becomes obsolete in the future based on old hardware shouldn't affect the criteria of if a game should be remembered or not. However, I feel like the fact that it's so difficult to play this game is the elephant in the room when reviewing it. Now, fans of the game and people who are more experienced with computers have made alternatives so that way you can play the game in the modern age, and I really appreciate the work of those people, and that's how I've gotten most of the footage for this video. However, that being said, there are certain parts of the game as it's running on my PC that just don't work the way that they're supposed to. So sadly, I guess we're just not going to see the race in this video. But trust me, the race is super awesome. It's very wacky and it's very wild. It's one of my favorite parts of the game. I've played this game many times on older computers, and it's certainly one of my favorite parts of the game. But unfortunately, as much as I remember the race being one of the quality parts of the game, I can't really endorse it wholeheartedly unless I played it recently and was able to write down my experience. But if you asked me my favorite part of the gameplay, regardless of flaws, I would definitely pick the exploration, hands down. Now, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about what I think is one of the most celebrated aspects of this game. I'm willing to bet that if you ask anyone who's played Lego Island what the best part of the game was for them, they'd answer almost immediately with the music. Composed mostly by Lauren Nelson, the music of Lego Island is iconic and otherworldly. The game is silly and goofy at almost every corner, but most of the music in the game takes itself completely seriously. Tracks that help you appreciate the environments and vistas in the game, tracks that make you feel alone or watched, tracks that make you feel the joy and calm that comes with an afternoon walk, and tracks that are so catchy that they stay in my head for over 20 years. Now, I know I just described the soundtrack in a very abstract and bizarre manner, but it really is hard for me to put into words how high quality I think the Lego Island soundtrack is, and how unique and different it is from other children's game soundtracks of the time. That being said, there are plenty of songs that don't encompass any of the intangible qualities I just described.
Mamma and Papa Briccolini will not cook you no linguini. Don't you know we specialize in one thing, that's the pizza pie.
But most of the songs represent all the beauty and weirdness I mentioned earlier. I'm serious, even if you don't have a desire to play Lego Island after watching this video, at least take the time to listen to the music from the game. I promise you've never heard anything like it. And that's a carrotscraps promise, and when carrotscraps makes a promise, there's a promise made that you can't take back a carrot. You can take it to the bank, but you can't walk out. You can't walk. When Carrot Man makes a So if you're walking down the street, but while certain aspects of the game, like the gameplay, might be considered dated by today's standards, one thing about the game that I don't think is dated is the writing. I think it's kind of a given that most LEGO games and LEGO properties, whether it be movies or even toys, always have a little bit of a sense of humor to it. And while the comedy exploits of the LEGO company haven't been awful by any means, I don't think I'm offending any LEGO fans by saying that the writing in modern LEGO games doesn't belong in the Comedy Hall of Fame. However, that being said, I think the writing is really strong in LEGO Island. Every character has something genuinely funny to say, and if not funny, just weird enough to make me crack a smile.
Pepper. Pepper? What kind of name is Pepper anyway? What are you, from the condiment family? Where's your brother Salt, or your sister Ketchup, or your exotic Hungarian uncle Paprika? He spices up the dinner conversation, don't he? What are you in for? Oh, you're not in. I'm in. For breaking and entering. I hear they're gonna give me the chair. And maybe even a lovely matching table.
I'm serious, the writing is really top-notch, and it's really sold by the wonderful performances in the game. The one criticism I would give the sound is when it comes to the mixing. A lot of the times, it seems like the voice lines are lower than the environmental sounds or even the music. So there are various times where it's hard for me to hear what the characters are trying to say, because the game itself is too loud. And then there's the issue of character lines just being triggered at inappropriate times. I can't tell you how many times characters just talked over each other because I walked into a new area while someone else was trying to talk to me on the street. There were even times when one character was talking over themselves for some reason. Just two lines from the same character would be playing at the same time. But putting that all aside, I'm willing to say that 90% of the jokes in this game genuinely make me laugh. And I think that's pretty impressive for a children's game. LEGO Island was received extremely well after its release in 1997. Selling over 900,000 copies between 97 and 99, the success of this game helped revive the developer Mindscape, who was seeing trouble at the time. And as we discussed earlier, 5 other LEGO titles were discussed to be developed by Mindscape as well. There was even a LEGO Island TV show pilot produced. Don't worry, I will cover that in the future in a different video. I'm very excited to talk about it. The game even received a handful of awards, naming it an achievement in family video games. While the game was a huge success in its day, it's safe to say that most are unfamiliar with the game over 20 years after its release. And I feel like part of the reason the game remains unknown, even to many LEGO fans, is because of how inaccessible it is. As I mentioned earlier, even if you do have a physical copy of the game, it's still very difficult to get running on modern computers. And to add insult to injury, there hasn't been a re-release of the game since its original release, and it doesn't seem like there's going to be an HD remake anytime soon. This game will always hold a special place in my heart. The music, graphics, voice acting, writing, and comedy all sit on a shining pedestal in my mind. I remember when I was a kid, I would visit my grandmother's house pretty regularly on the weekends. I loved my grandmother and I was always excited to see her. However, there was another side of visiting her house that felt more mysterious. As the firstborn of her grandchildren, my grandmother would spoil me, and that meant I played many games and watched many movies at her house. Because I could only engage with certain pieces of media while I was at her house, it felt like they were a secret from the rest of the world. For years, I would try to explain to friends of mine this super secret niche film, the skeleton movie at my Nana's house, only to find out it's the wildly popular Nightmare Before Christmas that everybody has seen. It was just the way my brain worked when I was a kid. For some reason, I believed a lot of the movies, shows, and games that I only saw at my Nana's house were unique to visiting her and that other people weren't aware of them. But one of the most significant pieces of media that I was introduced to at her house was LEGO Island on the PC. Well, that and Sonic 3D Blast. For many years, LEGO Island existed in this kind of cultural vacuum for me. And when my grandmother allowed me to take the game home with me, the game became a part of my life in a way that hasn't left my memory since. This game will forever be one of my favorites, and I still love revisiting it. But is LEGO Island a marvel of game design? I don't think so. The controls are clunky and unintuitive, and as much as I hate to admit it, if I'm being honest, there isn't a lot of gameplay here. The game is mostly just you exploring the environment through first-person perspective and occasionally customizing a vehicle or driving a vehicle. I still like to think it was really impressive for its time, but given the state of open-world games in the modern day, this kind of pales in comparison to its contemporaries. And yes, I know it's not like an open-world game, I'm just Just let me have this, okay? The way I see it, the fun of the game isn't really tied to the gameplay, but instead the experience. As an experience, I do think this game is very unique, and there is a great value in that. I think regardless of age, if you're going into this game blind, it really is fun and bizarre to explore Lego Island. The layout and design of the island is really fascinating and really draws you in. All of the characters, including the random ones that you meet on the street, have such personality and really leave a lasting impression on the player. And of course, the ending to the game is so unexpected that it really is one of the more iconic endings to a video game that I can remember. Again, putting childhood trauma aside, the idea of having the player go through mostly mundane point-and-click adventures, and then throwing an action-adventure twist at the end just really... Oh, that's why they call it an action-adventure game. Although I will admit that while the ending of Lego Island does still impress me to this day, I can't help but wishing that the game had other experiences like the Brickster escape for playing as other characters. And while there are differences between the characters, as I've mentioned before, none of them are as dramatic as playing as Pepper versus the other characters. But even with that small caveat, I still think the game is very unique, even compared to games of today. I think the really defining characteristic about Lego Island that separates it from its contemporaries, both in children's video games and Lego video games, is heart. This game does not feel like shovelware, even though it's attached to a large IP. It feels like people were really trying to make something different, and something that would be remembered for years to come. I love modern Lego games, and I think they've really found a great formula that works for them, but I have to admit at this point, I'd love to see something different, some more variety in their modern titles. Lego Island 2? No. No. It's too different. No! Wah. If I discovered this game as is on Steam in my adult years and played it not knowing what Lego was, I like to think I'd still be impressed by the presentation. The standouts again being the music, graphics, and voice acting. So with dated graphics, clunky controls, and almost no way to play it in the current year, is Lego Island a game to remember? In my opinion, Lego Island is still a game to remember. This game is a huge part of PC video game history, and is a unique and quirky experience that many people would be charmed by. And yes, while I criticize the controls, I don't think that they prevent you from enjoying the experience. The only real problem with Lego Island is the accessibility. So as unlikely as it is, if anyone working at or with the Lego company is watching this video, please consider releasing a version of this game on Steam, or whatever other platform. I would gladly pay to play this game on my modern PC. I think it's a chapter in video game history that deserves to be seen and that many people would love to engage with in an official manner. But until then, I've left some links in the description to fan communities who have done some amazing things concerning the game, like finding and restoring higher quality versions of the soundtrack or making an executable for Lego Island that will work on your PC. Although disclaimer, the only way I've gotten that executable to work is if my PC has a disk drive connected. So just keep that in mind. For almost my entire life, Lego Island has lived in the back of my mind and remained on my list of favorite video games. I still listen to the music for this soundtrack while working on videos for this channel. I've had a lot of fun talking about such an important and influential game to me, and I hope I've helped introduce the game to those who might really enjoy it. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this video. So this is the first video in a series I'm starting where I'm going to reflect on a video game and decide whether it should be remembered or forgotten. Do you agree that Lego Island is a game to be remembered? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your opinion either way. I'd also like to give a quick shout out to the artist SynaMax. SynaMax is an independent artist who created the track that you've been listening to for the last couple of minutes. This track, titled Nostalgia Center, is inspired by the music of Lego Island. I'm really thankful that he allowed me to use his song in my video, because not only is it about the same subject matter, but I feel like its sound really does encompass the feeling that I was going for at the end of the video. So if you liked the song Nostalgia Center and want to check out more of his music, check him out on SoundCloud, Bandcamp, and YouTube at SynaMax. Anyway, if for whatever reason you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like and to subscribe to my channel for more. Before I go today, I have to mention that it is finally October. And on my Twitch channel this month, we are celebrating the first annual Creepy Carrot Month. Whew. Yeah, so if you follow me on Twitch, which is at carrotscraps, you can watch me play horror games for the entire month of October. You can even give me suggestions on what horror games to play in my Twitch chat or on Discord. But my main goal during the first annual Creepy Carrot Month is to play as many Resident Evil games as possible. Wonder what's on the other side of this door. No, I don't wonder. I'm freaked out. That scares the crap out of me. I've played the first Resident Evil and I really love it, although I've never beaten it before. But other than that, I've never played any of the other Resident Evil games. But I own the entire collection and I'm really excited to play as many of them as I can. I would like to finish at least 1 to 7, but you know, I'm not great at video games, so let's just set our expectations all the way down here. Yeah, right there. Anyway, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited to try something new. I really love Halloween, and I love October and fall, and I can't wait to see you on Twitch. So again, if you want to join me and watch me play video games live, check me out on Twitch at carrotscraps. All my other social media, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram is at carrotscraps as well, and that's going to do it for this video. Thanks again so much for watching, and I will see you soon. So I got this copy of Lego Island on eBay a couple of years ago, and when I bought it, it said it was complete in box. But like many things I've bought on eBay, I guess I didn't really open it since I ordered it. I just trusted that it was complete in box. The thing is, the complete version of the original Lego Island release should have a Infomaniac minifigure included inside of the box. And I discovered while opening this for the B-roll for this video that there was no Infomaniac minifigure inside of the box. So this is one of two things for me. It's either a lesson to open eBay packages to make sure that I got what I paid for, or it's proof that the Infomaniac is real and that I have made a huge mistake by releasing him from his cardboard prison. And now he's like somewhere loose in my house, waiting for me to let my guard down.